Good day, everyone. Everybody pretty much knows about the MacArthur-Truman controversy. There's been numerous books written about it. It was really a feud, and one of the great feuds in American history, really. But there's some new things that have come to light recently, which has never been in any book, and we wanted to show you about it. Now, of course, MacArthur was fired in April of 1951, came back to the United States, and after he returned, he pretty much toured the whole country and made all these statements lambasting the Truman administration throughout. And in 1952, Truman didn't want to run for president, and so the controversy kind of ended there. But then in 1955, Truman published his memoirs, and at the same time, MacArthur's former military secretary, this guy, Major General Courtney Whitney, he printed this book called MacArthur's Rendezvous with History. And then they were both being serialized and published in various magazines, Life magazine mostly, in 1955. And then Life magazine came up with the idea, well, why don't we have you two, MacArthur and Truman, print your stories? Because both this Truman memoir and then this Whitney book that had come out was kind of saying different things about that Korean War period, which had led to that controversy. And so in 1956, February 13th issue, they published this, and it had Truman's piece about what he felt about why he had to fire MacArthur, and MacArthur's ideas of what he wanted to do in the Korean War and why he felt he was so disrespected by being fired. And so the whole conflagration just explodes again, this whole Truman-MacArthur feud. Now in the late 1950s, this guy, now this is Leif Sverdrup, he was MacArthur's engineer in World War II, built all those airfields. After the war, became a very successful businessman with Sverdrup Engineering. They built the Chesapeake Bay Bridge Tunnel in the 1960s. But he, this is him, older at that time, right next to MacArthur, he tried to get a rapprochement between MacArthur and Truman, because he knew Truman, he was from Missouri, and he knew MacArthur very well, and felt this had all just been totally misunderstood between them, trying to get, but it didn't work. They weren't going to get back together. Then in 1960, Truman went on a Chicago TV station and said that MacArthur wanted to use nuclear weapons and blow up China and part of Siberia and everything. And MacArthur came out immediately and said Truman's allegations were false. He never asked for the means to use atomic weapons in Korea. And Truman had to come out and say that no, he never really asked for it. That was just my opinion. So this whole thing blows up again. A little bit time goes by, 1964, MacArthur gets very sick, and he has to go into Walter Reed Hospital. And he goes in there in March of 1964, and this will be his final illness. They did a bunch of operations on him, and then finally he lapsed into a coma. But right before he lapsed into the coma, he was getting all these telegrams from all over the world, all these former, comrades that he had. The Premier Yoshida of Japan sent him a telegram. This one is from President Johnson, Lyndon B. Johnson, who in 1964 was the president at that time, comes to visit MacArthur there in the hospital. But then on April 2nd, and this is just 3 days before MacArthur dies, MacArthur got this telegram. And this is not known by anyone. It's never appeared in any MacArthur biography, any kind of book about Truman and MacArthur, any magazine article. This is something very recent that we just dug out. And what this is 3 days before MacArthur dies, Harry S. Truman sends him a telegram of best wishes and get well. We are all deeply sorry that you are experiencing so great an illness. You are putting up a valiant fight to overcome this difficulty, and I hope and pray that you succeed. Just one of the things that you never know will turn up.